Hey YouTube, good day. How you doing? The best of both worlds, as Van Halen would say, or Samuel Hagar, whoever, depending on who you are. How's everybody doing? Forgive me, I'm trying to partake of my lunch at the same time as getting this video in, doing some time conservation. But the song's a good lead-in that we'll get to. But Tony had a really good chat last night in like 0 Dark 30. He knocked one out with Angel and some other fellas. It was some good stuff. And they hit on this caravan thing coming from Central America up to the border. We talked about it on the morning chat this morning as well. Is what it is. It's a funded operation it's a funded invasion. Plain and dry. They mention it. The CNN has an embedded reporter who mentions the organizers and whatnot. And actually there was a tweet this came out linked to a story. A town in Mexico has denied their passing, has shut off the road so they can't pass through that town. So I don't know if they're going to make their way around it or whatever. We'll find that link and put it below as well. But it's an organized invasion. The situation is nothing short of that. People have failed to recognize, I guess, the severity, the progression to get to this state, to this stage in the game, if you will. But it's a shame, because what's really going to happen? As they talk about in the article, the people are going to get here, they're going to request asylum. And what's Border Patrol going to do? Are they going to follow the law? Can they turn them away? Are they going to put them in detention as they seek exile status or refugee status? The article mentions most of them are from Guatemala. And I guess there's some problems in Guatemala. And somehow that all of a sudden becomes our problem. But also causes the infighting here and the problems that we have internally just discussing the topic. Gentleman on YouTube, Hot Lead Retired, did a video talking about how Mexico is still going to fund the border wall. And he goes, and I'll put a link below to that video. And as I said a couple weeks ago, people still on this train that Trump is going to be anything different than any of the predecessors just because of his talk. And he just lists a couple of maneuvers and places where this money can come from. And it's just like, people don't get it. Even if you could fund a wall, you wouldn't want to, because you're just keeping yourselves in. If we need that much protection, we have the means to do it with what we currently have in the military and other structures. You don't have to do anything more than what we already have in place. Why you would go out and spend X number of billion of dollars to build a wall is beyond me. But that's how scared people are. People want safety. People want security. Conversely, you have the anarcho-capitalists and other levels beyond that of the anarchism group who are free-minded, spiritual thinking beings, and they are all for the open borders, and there should be free flow of movement across any border. There are no borders, essentially. Which in it's like communism in its own little bubble, in its perfect scenario. Yes, it would be great to have no borders and all this stuff. But when everything around you exists in a different realm, you have to operate within reality. The Constitution was formed in a way that the federal government controlled the borders for specific reasons. Because the outside world doesn't work like that. You can call it xenophobia, you can call it racism, whatever. You can be derogatory as you want. But the bottom line is this: we built a lot of things based upon prosperity, and you can get behind. There's all kinds of agenda behind the scenes you can get at. But America also succeeded on the backs of our own people putting forth the effort. For sure. And people are willing to just throw that away because the people that are going to come in here and undermine it, that's what that allows, is people to come in and undermine it, which they have been doing. Tony pointed out a video on his chat last night, early this morning, about this test drill on a border checkpoint, basically, where they brought in a human wave, basically, to overrun the border patrol and rush the border to get people in the country. That video is 5 years old, almost 5 years old, folks. It was shared a couple places on social media. I've seen as well people being like, don't you see it now? Like, we talked about this in the Green Dragon like 4 years ago. We were like 6 months behind the power curve when we saw it. People are just now seeing this video 5 years later and thinking it's new, thinking it's anything new. That's how far behind the power curve we are. And I would say we're further behind than those 5 years. We are 20 years behind. Because you could say 30 when it comes to this specific border issue, because of what Reagan had to address that wasn't followed through on. And it's just the outside world overtaking America. Plain and dry. People aren't coming here to participate in the American dream. People aren't coming here to be prosperous of their own means. They're coming here to suck the life out of America. You can say that's not what's going on, it's what's going on. The majority. You've probably got 25% that are participating in the American dream, such as it was. Not that it is now, but as it was, 70 years ago. That's been undermined as well. But DACA's done, the wall's done. We're going to get a steady invasion of these people. People need to remember that. You can't have the best of both worlds. You can't have liberty and security. You can only provide for so much security. But when you have charged certain people with providing security and they fail to do that, you can't double down and give them more money. Hey, provide more security this way. ICE and the Border Patrol and Customs have failed to provide security. You don't double down and give them twice the budget, 3 times the budget, and say go build this wall like that's going to make it better. That's not what's going to happen. Reinforcing failure is not going to ensure success. That's a kind of a take on a military term. You don't reinforce failure. And that's what building a border wall will do. But it goes back to the old adage, folks. We are done. We need to prepare for the future and a reorganization, and hopefully the establishment of some constitutional principles and another form of government with another geographic structure, because all 50 states aren't going to go along with it. All 50 states aren't going to participate in what's coming in the breakup. We need to understand that not every American wants freedom. So preparing for where you are and looking around and seeing if you're outnumbered, if you're in an area that would likely promote principles of freedom in the eventual collapse of the current geographic boundaries, or would they go along with any other communistic scheme that seems to be prevalent? Are they already enforcing that? If you're in a state, if you live in a portion of the blue states, because there are large portions of blue states that will eventually secede off. The state of Jefferson's a prime example. Southern Illinois, prime example. Western New York, most likely a prime example. That would break away from the coastal agendas But if you don't live in that area, you got to understand where your situation is and where you're living. You understand it now. And don't strive for the best of both worlds. Strive for freedom. Liberty first. Live free. Liberty is the only thing that matters. The established government, an established geographic boundary is not what matters. Freedom is what matters. And you have to fight for your freedom first before you worry about concerning yourself with somebody else coming to seek their freedom if you don't have it yourself. Kind of a thought for the open borders crowd. As long as all these other outside areas are in different forms of totalitarian states, you can't have an open borders policy. You can't have a free route back and forth. That's just, unfortunately, kind of the situation. You have to lead, ideally, but this becomes more and more clear that the isolationist policies are a little more credence to them than people like to give them credit. You can trade with anybody, but you should be isolated in many other respects. So my thoughts on a lunchtime, folks. Go check out Tony's chat. They lit it up. I should say Angel lit it up. Angel led that party. That was awesome. Good chat last night by them. But stay frosty, folks. Live free.